YouTube or Facebook? What am I?
This is
What am I?
YouTube.
We're live on YouTube. Are you trying to get in here?
I'm looking.
Get out of here. They told me I got to go live on YouTube, and because I like to live indoors and buy food, I'm going to go live on YouTube. We're going to talk about the brave new world we have just entered, thanks because of the election. Now we're looking at the possibility of national concealed carry reciprocity and the entire can of worms that this opens up. Can you believe it? And again, I see now the numbers are popping up in there. Folks, if you didn't hear me when I started with this, one of the things I'm going to be talking about is national concealed carry reciprocity. And is it a good thing or a bad thing? And this is just a giant can of worms, folks, because yeah, it would be great if our concealed carry permits worked just like our driver's licenses and, you know, they were valid across state lines, but that means then we got to have concealed carry permits in order for them to be valid across state lines. And does that mean the federal government then wants to get involved in setting the rules and making sure that we're following their specific rules for how we get a concealed carry permit? And then do you have to have a permit? And what happens to the people who are in the constitutional carry states and the permitless carry and things like that? It sounds really good. It could be really cool. For me, I don't think I've done enough research yet to decide whether or not I love it or just kind of don't love it. But national concealed carry reciprocity is something that's on the burner now. People are talking about it, and we need to make sure we ask all of the questions so we don't get ourselves in a bad way if this thing gets passed. And then we're like, wait a minute, we don't really like the way the government decided to implement this. It would be wonderful if we just had national constitutional carry reciprocity, but you know that in places like California and Massachusetts and Illinois and stuff like that, they're going to fight that kind of stuff tooth and nail. So that's one of the things that's happening now in the wake of the election and the election of Donald Trump and the new presidency out there. So another thing that we're talking about that is big news lately is, guess what? The Illinois assault weapons ban, and I'm a member of the NSSF, so the modern sporting rifle ban that was implemented in Illinois has been declared unconstitutional, a violation of the Second Amendment. But the judge who did that gave a 30-day stay for implementation of that because guess what? He knows it's going to be appealed. He knows it's going to be appealed, but hearing some people talk about this, some legal scholars talk about this ruling, guess what? He worded it wonderfully to make sure that other folks may not be able to in the future implement bans on modern sporting rifles, these assault weapon bans and magazine capacity and the way guns look and things like that. So again, another important thing that's happening on the legal front when it comes to personal defense, concealed carry, and home defense, stuff like that. Just a minute. Someone's waving their hand at me back there. Do I got something going on here? Something on my shirt? Why don't they cover all states in the U.S.? Why are the laws different? Because remember, folks, we're talking about this national concealed carry reciprocity. We'll go back to that. And remember, very important, the 10th Amendment, okay? Anything that is not clearly spelled out in the Constitution goes back to the states so the states can implement their own laws because we have local control. We don't want the federal government dictating every darn thing we have to do. We want to control ourselves, and people in different states have different ideas, and it works differently, so that's why it goes back to the states. So, how is the NFA looking for short-barreled rifles and mag capacity? Well, magazine capacity doesn't have anything to do with the NFA. Short-barreled rifles, yeah, that falls under the National Firearms Act, and I don't know if that's going to be repealed or changed or anything like that. People are really quickly getting approved for suppressors, especially those folks who are on the individual program out there. Some of the folks who are doing the NFA trusts and trying to get suppressors are still taking 2 or 3 months to get them approved. But I've heard of individuals getting approved in as many as 7 days. And actually, I was just at an event with our local sheriff last night, and he said he's seeing all of the requests come across his desk, and more and more people are buying suppressors, and they're getting approved really quickly. So that's good news. We'll just keep an eye on what's happening out there. All right. If national permit happens, how would magazine capacity work when going from one state to the other? See, that's one of the questions that we're going to have to solve as we move this forward, because if you're living in a state that is less restrictive and you travel into a more restrictive state, guess what? You're going to have to follow the laws of that state. Yes, maybe your permit will be recognized, but the state might have a 10-round magazine capacity limit, and if you're carrying a 15-round or 17-round magazine in that state, you're going to be in violation of those laws. Just like when you drive from one state to the other, if the speed limit is 65 in one state and 55 in another state, you've got to follow that 55 speed limit when you get to the second state, even though your driver's license is still valid and good. All right. Shouldn't suppressors be treated as hearing safety? Yes. Yes, they should. That would be wonderful. And that's part of that new law, trying to get suppressors to be sold just over the counter. It's one of the things I really loved about going over to Africa to go hunting. You could buy a suppressor at the local big box store. It was kind of cool. All states should have to abide by the Constitution. Yes, you're right. I'm reading some of the comments as they pop up down here. So RP just wants to greet everyone. Okay. How you doing, RP?
Glad to see you're alive.
I'm glad to see you. No. Was there concern that I wasn't alive? Why? What have you heard? Maybe I shouldn't come to work tomorrow if I'm not going to make it. Should fully automatic switches be banned, even if you have a license for it? Come on.
Calling me out.
Come on now. Should fully automatic switches be banned? I'm not going to make a legal determination on this, but fully automatic switches, those Glock switches and stuff like that, are already controlled under the National Firearms Act. Okay? They are officially machine guns or machine gun parts. So they are already controlled. They're not banned. You can possess a machine gun. You just have to go through all the legal hoops to be able to do it legally. So understand, I don't think you're going to be able to get Glock switches approved or anything like that. But what we need to do is enforce the laws on the people who are bringing in these illegal machine guns and machine gun parts, instead of just making some other blanket ban that restricts gun ownership for all the rest of us. Wow. Some of these comments I can't read. Just people. No, people are saying bad things. So,
just skip them. Just keep going.
Yeah, I'll just skip over stuff like that. So we're coming into the end of 2024, and Dylan over here wanted me to talk about new guns for 2025 and different things like that. And that's one of the things out there that I've been looking at new guns all over the place. I've been visiting other gun manufacturers and going and doing other cool stuff. There's going to be some cool stuff coming out in 2025. And it's stuff that, you know what? Gun, in my eyes, I've been doing this a long time and it might be a little bit jaded. A gun is a gun is a gun. It's a reciprocating slide. It's magazine fed and it's firing bullets and stuff like that. But the manufacturing processes of these gun makers are improving immensely. And we're getting really good quality guns, even at some of the budget prices. So there's just about anything you could ever want going to be coming out on the market now in the very near future. So again, now's the time to buy guns. And a couple of weeks ago, I was telling you to buy ammo because we were worried about a shortage and things like that. But if you're still in the firearms game and you're looking for something for concealed carry or home defense or something like that, we are living in the golden age. So there's all kinds of cool stuff out that way. I want to hear what everybody thinks about revolvers. So we've been having that discussion lately around the office quite a bit about, is the revolver passé? Are people over it? Are people carrying again? One of our research studies found out that 25% of the people who are reading Concealed Carry Magazine carry a revolver as their primary gun. What are you thinking about that? Is a revolver something you want to carry, or do you want that magazine capacity? So, hey, somebody says they love them. Revolvers for purses. What does that mean? So, just for purses? No. I'm going to dispel that myth right now. Everybody who has ever told a woman that she has to get a revolver because it's easier to use and it's better and stuff like that, you guys are 100% wrong. You're thinking about a revolver. It's got a longer, heavier trigger pull in double action, and when people are under stress, they always use that double action trigger pull. It's more difficult to shoot accurately with that long trigger pull. It has less magazine capacity. It's more complicated to reload if you need to reload it. Man, a nice, small semi-auto, that Smith & Wesson EZ, the slide's easy to rack, and you know what? If you can't figure out how to run a semi-automatic pistol, maybe you ought to not be carrying a gun, because guess what? Semi-automatic pistols are just as easy to run as revolvers, and they give you a little bit more magazine capacity. It's actually a little bit easier to get going on them once you can have enough hand strength to rack the slide. So I'm not going to be that kind of guy who says women always have to carry revolvers. No way, not going that direction. So somebody says prefer magazine capacity. Weak wrist and it won't cycle. Yep, you're true. If you have a weak wrist and a weak grip, your auto-loading pistol might not cycle. If only there was something we could do about weak wrists and weak grips, like, exercise or get stronger or practice more with the gun or something like that. Any problem that you're talking about when we're shooting is surmountable. We can fix that. It just takes more practice. So I have a Smith & Wesson 686, my EDC rotation. However, I prefer semi-automatic gun. That's an interesting way to put it, your EDC rotation. So why and when do you carry a different gun? Is it for different circumstances? Is it because of different wardrobes? Something like that. If you have an EDC rotation, why have you decided that you want to carry a different gun? What is making you choose a different gun on that day? And I'm going to ask this question. I'm calling you out. Are you training with all of those guns? Are you training effectively with all of the guns in your rotation? So that's an interesting thing to me. I've always been a big believer in same gun, same place every time. But if you have an EDC rotation, why don't we talk about why you have that here? What's different about it? Different situations and different types of guns. That's from Crazy Mike. Crazy Mike, get a different screen name, okay? So I'm just telling you that right now. What different situations? What different types of guns? Be more specific. Okay, if you're telling me that you carry a gun for a different situation, what is the different situation that would make you carry a different gun? Let's answer these questions. Brian Chamberlain says seasonal. Okay, so in the winter you carry a big 20 when he's in bear country. Yes, indeed, and I think that's a really good choice. Crazy Mike wants power. Mind-bending, bone-crushing power. All right, okay. I carry a full size when I can, but some clothing just isn't as print-friendly. You're right. So there are differences, different reasons to carry different guns. And again, I'll go right back to this training protocol. Are you training effectively with that firearm? Can you hit what you need to hit at the ranges at which you intend to engage with your gun? Are you accurate? Can you reload it? Can you carry it? Can you get it into play? All of these things got to happen. So let's make sure you're doing all of those too. I am not opposed to different guns for different situations. I just want to make sure that when the balloon goes up, and then that's better than saying something else I was going to say. When bad things happen and you reach for that gun, can you intuitively, instinctively know how to use it to make sure that you're protecting your life? Oh, I missed it. Somebody said he's joking, but now I won't. Crazy Mike says, I won't carry a 9. Crazy Mike is all over this today.
He's crazy.
So we've just been going through lots of discussion about the differences between 9mm and 40 and what happened with the FBI shootout back in 86 and things like that. And you know what? 9mm is going to work. Trust me, you wouldn't want to get shot with a 9mm. It will work. If you just don't like it because you think it's small or something like that, great, use a bigger cartridge. But again, make sure you train, make sure you practice. So we got folks carrying a 40, the 40 short and weak, not the 40 Smith & Wesson. Okay, I got that. I didn't realize anybody carried a 40 anymore. I thought that was just sort of fading away, gone the way of the buffalo. So
Daniel Nichols says, Kevin, do you have a personal minimum number of rounds you would carry for yourself?
The personal minimum number of rounds is, I happen to carry a Glock 19 derivative, a modified Glock 19 gun. So it's 15 rounds in the magazine and then a 17 round backup magazine. So what is that? 32 rounds that I'm carrying, because I want to be able to reload when it's time to reload if something bad really happens. But again, we've heard all the statistics. It's 3 rounds in 3 seconds from 3 yards. If I'm in a situation where I got to fire 32 rounds, wow, not only am I going to need more ammo, I'm going to need clean underwear and things like that too, because things have gotten really, really bad if you got to fire 32 rounds. But it could happen. We've heard the crazy stories. It could happen. So there we go. We have somebody carrying 3 14-round clips. No, sir, you're carrying magazines. Let's get that right. So 3 14-round magazines. That's going to be a little bit heavy, but it's up to you. You do it. If you can do it, go ahead. Heck fire. Even a 22 is deadly. Something is better than nothing. You're right. Shot placement trumps power every time, but the 22 long rifle is pretty anemic. But again, I wouldn't want to get shot with it, and I would use deadly force to stop you from shooting me with a 22. So, all right, splash of orange, 17-round flush fit magazine. Oh, we're still talking about how much ammo we carry. All right. So let's talk about this quickly. The tiny 380 for comfort and ease of carry and concealability, or a mid-size gun or a full-size gun for shootability. Which do you think is better and better for you? A lot of folks are talking about 380, and yeah, they're going to use the real small ones. If you shoot them, they're kind of snappy. I mean, a tiny little gun with no weight to absorb any of that recoil, that thing's going to jump around in your hand. So you might be struggling to hit anything past 5 yards with that. But it's a question that a lot of folks have been talking about. And I just saw recently in the gun safe over here, one of those North American Arms 22 Magnum mini revolvers, something like that. Still a deadly weapon. Is it what you want to use to carry? Glock 20 and M&P Shield Plus, 357 SIG. That's an outstanding round, and I love to shoot it. It just doesn't get enough love, the 357 SIG. I would prefer that over 9mm. It just gives you a little bit more power in that same package size, but it's just not common out there, and it's a little bit more expensive to shoot and a little bit harder to find. So there we go. Someone carries a binary trigger on their 5.7. Could that get you into problems if you pull the trigger and then release the trigger and you fire a second shot when you really didn't want to? This is something that you've got to pay attention to. If your binary trigger functions, pull for 1 round, release for 1 round, or if you pull it, engage the safety, and then you can release it and it will not fire that round. Are you training to do that? Will you do that under stress, or will you fire an extra round when you don't need to? That could get you in trouble. So again, I'm not telling you it's right or wrong. I'm telling you to train your way through it. Work on that because it's important. So I used to carry my PSA Rock 5.7 with 22 round blue tips every day as an Amazon delivery driver. Does Amazon know about this? Did we just get somebody in trouble? Is an Amazon delivery driver going to get in trouble because of being on here? Hope not. Why is 380 rounds harder to find and more expensive than 9mm? Well, because it's not quite as popular, and it takes just a little bit more work for them to make the 380 rounds. You know, they are the same diameter, but it's not popular, not as popular as the 9mm rounds. So they're not making them as quickly or as often. Typically, they will set up their ammo lines and they will run big, huge lots of ammo, and then they will box them up and put them in the warehouse and get ready to ship them out. So yes, 380 rounds are a little bit more expensive because they don't make them as often and the demand isn't there as much. So this guy's awesome. Somebody really likes me. Oh, that's really cool.
End the stream.
Somebody just said, no, do not end the stream now. I'm just getting compliments. We're keeping this thing going. All right. Okay, Zargo 762. I carry a 38 special over 9mm. Tell us why. It's great that you do. I'm happy. Good. You carry a gun every day. Tell us why you carry a 38 special instead of a 9mm. All right. The grain count is grain count really important, or is it overrated? When you're talking about grain count, I imagine that you're talking about bullet weight, the bullet weight in grains. Now, this is an entire physics question, that the bullet weight in grains multiplied by the speed of the bullet gives what's called a power factor. So a heavier bullet going faster will penetrate more deeply than a lighter bullet going slower. There's all sorts of variables in there. What you want to do is use the ammunition that functions best in your pistol and that you can shoot accurately with every single time. So if that is 127 grain instead of 147 grain, most certainly use that 127 grain ammunition, because what you want is reliability. Sorry, I'm going to be okay. I'll be okay. Don't anyone worry about me. So what you want is reliability. And the truth of the matter, when you're talking about handgun ammunition, there is no handgun ammunition that gives you that lightning bolt one-shot stop effect that you see in Hollywood. None of it. Whether you're shooting a 380 or a 9mm or 357 Magnum or 357 SIG or 10mm or whatever, handgun ammunition doesn't provide that lightning bolt Hollywood stop like you get with rifle ammunition. So shot placement is more important than caliber every single time. Yes, choose the largest caliber that you can comfortably shoot accurately every time, because bigger is better, but a high caliber miss is way worse than a low caliber hit. So you want to put those rounds on target when you need to. So, all right, Mark M also carries a Hellcat for EDC, perfect size for me. That's exactly it. So Antonio says that too. Mark M also carries a Hellcat. And that's the thing right there. It's the perfect size for you. Try different guns. See what you like to carry. See what you like to shoot. See what works for you, because that gun will not help you if it's sitting home in the gun safe when you really, really need it. So, all right. What's the brand of holster for your Hellcat? These people are talking amongst themselves. They're not even asking me questions anymore. This is hurtful.
Let them.
Oh, man. Would you look at this? That's it. There's a one-shot stop, and it's called 50 Action Express. We can argue about that all day, Crazy Mike. Yeah, 50 Action Express is a great big bullet, but you know it might give you close to rifle caliber impact. But yeah, carry that. You know, throw that Desert Eagle and 50 Action Express, that 48-ounce gun, in your holster and just walk around all day. So, is Taurus good for a reliable, cheap gun? Michael is asking that. You know what? I carried a Taurus PT-111 G2 as my backup gun when I was a police officer for 15 years. I have taken it to multiple different shooting schools and fired hundreds and hundreds of rounds at those schools, and I never had a problem with it. So I own a Taurus G2 and a Taurus G3 and a Taurus Revolver. They all work. So yes, if a Taurus is what you like and what works for you, I have not run into problems using my Taurus guns in some very intense training schools and carrying them, as I said, my backup gun on duty. It got beat around, it was dirty and dusty and all those other things. So yeah, it worked. I bet my life on Taurus pistols a couple of different times, and you know what? They didn't let me down. They didn't fail me. So let's see, what else we got here? Boy, Crazy Mike.
Crazy Mike knows you're
He knows I was in law enforcement and retired. What was your weapon of choice, and what was my duty gun?
He knows.
He knows. He is what? How does he know? He's watching. Oh, because I've told everybody. That's how he knows. All right. So getting back to this question, my department had me carrying a Glock 22 in 40 caliber, full-size Glock 22 in 40 caliber, and the off-duty gun that I had to carry had to be, according to policy, substantially similar to my on-duty gun, which, polymer pistol, striker-fired pistol, so that my training with my on-duty gun would carry over to whatever I was doing with my off-duty gun if it came down to something like that. So over the course of the years. That's why I started carrying the Glock 19 size. I wanted the 9mm for the easier follow-up shots, and it's easier to shoot and shoot it more accurately. I can qualify and I can shoot pretty good with that Glock 22, but it's easier to shoot more accurately with a 9mm than it is with, and what we used on the department was these 200 grain double tap rounds in 40 caliber. And those things launched. They were heavy and they were going fast. So we got some good recoil about that. So did somebody donate $2?
So read that one.
Wow, somebody donated $2. Is it a bad idea to carry a 10mm? Well, as a personal defense gun, I'm going to say a 10mm, pretty darn powerful. You're going to get some pass through when you're shooting a 10mm. But it might be what you want in bear country, things like that. But a 10mm gun out there for concealed carry, for personal defense and stuff like that, might be just a little bit too much. You're going to shoot a smaller gun better. And if you put more rounds on target, you know, that big 10mm round is yep, it's going to hit hard and it's going to make a big hole, but you're going to get things like muzzle flash and extra loud report and recoil, and it's going to be harder to get on target. So I would shy away from something that big unless you need it to stop dangerous game. So that's just what I'm talking about.
We have a clothing question. This guy asked it. What sort of clothes, color, fit, or style should you wear to avoid printing with full-size pistols? Example, Glock 34.
Okay, well, what kind of clothes should you wear? You got to go baggy. You got to get just a little bit bigger than normal. I buy my pants one size larger than I need to because I wear an inside the waistband holster. So if you're carrying a big gun, use an inside the waistband holster. But then if you wear a 38 waist pants, get the 40 and, you know, the 40-inch waist, drop that inside there, and then get something for a shirt that's a little bit bigger. You guys have seen me before. I'm a huge fan of the Hawaiian shirt. I know it's not fashion forward, but it certainly does cover up a gun really well. So it's got to be just a little bit bigger if you don't want that gun to print. And I really like the inside the waistband holsters. There's tons of great ones out there that will hold that gun close to your body and help prevent from printing. And inside the waistband, either appendix or on the hip, they all work. It will work for you. So that's the best I can give you on short notice like that. So could you carry a 1911 on duty? No, I had to carry the gun that they gave me on duty. So those were the rules. And I am nothing if not a rule follower. Never mind, that's not true. So, all right. What can I wear under a suit? DB613. What can I wear under a suit? Undergarments. You know, some nice clingy underwear and maybe a t-shirt, something like that. I don't know. What do you want to wear under your suit? Under a suit coat, that's going to hide just about any gun you need, especially a shoulder holster or a gun on your hip. You're going to need a holster that allows you to tuck your shirt in over the top of the holster. But yeah, so there we go. Yeah, Michael says shoulder holster. How do I feel about hybrid holsters for a slim athletic guy? If your holster is comfortable, wear it. If it's got a leather back and a Kydex front and you like that, wear it. You are going to have a bunch of holsters in your holster box because you're going to get a holster and it's not going to feel right and it's not going to be perfect and you're going to wear it. Clint Smith says carrying a gun is supposed to be comforting, not comfortable, but you can work for comfort and get it as comfortable as possible. So if you like a hybrid holster, carry it. If you don't, then don't carry it. So Crazy Mike says, it's not the first time I've been watching you. That's getting a little bit disturbing. All right. What do I think about the Smith & Wesson Shield compact 40 caliber? Smith & Wesson Shield is a great gun. 40 caliber is more difficult to shoot than 9mm. It's going to be a little bit whippy on the recoil. If you can handle it and you can shoot it accurately, go ahead, get it and shoot it. Again, use the largest caliber that you can shoot accurately and then train regularly with that, because if you don't, your skills will fade off and you won't be shooting accurately. Then you'll just be shooting 40 caliber rounds and not hitting the person when you could be shooting other rounds and actually hitting the person. So again, a hit is more important than a miss with a big caliber gun. So let's make sure we make those hits. Best affordable red dot for a pistol. Man, tough ones out there. One that I've been using a lot lately is from a company called Right On, and I use their enclosed emitter pistol, red dot sight, and that thing has been super tough and a great value. But there are so many good red dots out on the market right now. It's really hard for me to say which is the best or which is a good one out there. So, all right, carrying lighter grain bullets. Like Underwood, lightweight 55 grain plus P makes the entire concealed carry extremely lighter. Yes, it does. And lighter bullets might not give you as good a penetration when you're shooting at a human-sized target. There are lots of variables in the human body and outside, the clothing, all that other stuff. So what you want to make sure that you do is you can shoot accurately and you're getting that kind of performance which will get to the vital organs, which will more quickly stop the threat. So yeah, you can save a lot of weight, and it is important to carry every day. If carrying a 147 grain bullet makes your gun too heavy and you don't carry it during the day, then by all means carry the 55 grain bullets. Just make sure you can hit your target when you're shooting at them. All right. Crazy Mike is suggesting I go to church every Sunday. Okay. All right. You know what? We're giving advice now. Okay, y'all need Jesus. So, all right. Who's going deer hunting? Wait a minute. Oh, that's a USCCA poll. Didn't roll up there. 84 votes. Who's going deer hunting this next weekend or soon? I know the Minnesota deer season has already started. The Wisconsin deer season is starting on the 23rd. Things like that. Yeah.
Does anyone carry while they hunt?
Just Capstar wants to know, what would Jesus carry? You know what? Not touching that one. I am not going out there. So, yeah, does anybody carry your concealed carry pistol, your defensive firearm, while you're deer hunting? Now, think about this for a minute. If somebody is going to attack you, they're probably not going to attack you way out in the woods. They're probably going to attack you while you're filling up with gas at the gas station at 3 a.m. on your way to your deer hunting spot or something like that. And you're heading out to go deer hunting and you're like, I don't have to worry about anything. I got my rifle. Well, your rifle is in a case in the back of the truck, put away or something like that. And suddenly you run into a problem at the gas station or convenience store or something of that nature. So I'm going to suggest carry your defensive firearm everywhere you go. All right. Something about any modifications on your EDC, trigger, optics, or whatever. We talk about this all the time with attorney Tom Grieve about making modifications to your pistol, and that can, not always will, can open you up to some legal challenges to what you're doing. The one thing I would tell you to do is never modify the safety components of your pistol at all. Do not pin down the grip safety on a 1911. Do not disengage any sort of magazine safety or anything like that. Don't change the safety components on your gun. And be very careful about what you're doing with the trigger components. So if you drop your trigger pull down too lightly, you can get yourself in trouble for unintended discharges. And that's an unintended discharge is always negligence in my eyes. So pay attention to something like that. But an aggressive prosecutor is going to say, he modified his gun to make it more deadly. And a good defense attorney is going to say, he modified his gun to make it more accurate and reliable and thus safer. So anything can be argued in court. You just got to make sure that you have a good attorney who can argue the opposite point of that. So if you need to make some changes to your gun to make sure that you can make that gun function when you need it to function, I'm going to say yes, consider making those changes. But again, don't do anything to change the safety components of that gun. Recently,
$5 donation.
$5 donation.
Lex Steele.
Lex Steele's making all kinds of
Can a
donations.
regular citizen get a level 3 license for a switch, and how hard is it to get?
A regular person can get a Class 3 license. You can do that. It will take some time if you decide that you want to buy a machine gun and utilize that. You got to fill out your Form 4. So make sure you're talking to a dealer who is well-versed in these Form 4s, or go to the ATF website and take a look at that. But then you also need to remember that you have to then get a transferable machine gun. And there are no transferable machine guns made after 1986. That's why the prices are so high. So these new Glock switches are not transferable. They are patently illegal. You're not going to be able to use them. But you can get a fully automatic firearm as long as you can get a transferable machine gun. You fill out your Form 4, you go through all the background check, your local law enforcement agency signs off on it and all that other stuff. It can be a pain in the butt to do that, but yes, it can be done, and machine guns are legal. They're just very expensive, and it's time consuming to pay all the taxes, because that's all it is taxes, to get those permits in place for you out there. So, all right, if you're using a shotgun in home defense, take it to the range, and it's what we call a pattern. The weapon measure the distance to your target. Say, yeah, we're talking about a lot of good advice coming out there. Always make sure that you practice with your firearm that you're going to use for home defense, and you see how it functions and what it does at various ranges. Again, if you're talking about a home defense gun, you're talking about fairly short distances across a room. Get in your house, and what is the biggest room in your house? That's going to be the longest shot you're going to be taking with your home defense gun. So think about that. So, should you line up your shots? Yes, you should line up your shots. We use birdshot first, then slugs, or we can load all slugs. Slow down there, Hoss. So, excuse me. I read that about birdshot first and then slugs and how that's going to work. Birdshot, like that number 8 shot or number 6 shot or something like that. Yeah, it's going to make a mess, but it's not going to penetrate really good. My suggestion is to use an adequate load of buckshot, like number 4 buckshot or 00 buckshot, things like that. A slug, a 1 ounce shotgun slug, is going to pass through your walls and your refrigerator and your walls and your neighbor's walls. I mean, a shotgun slug just keeps going and going and going. I helped carry a guy out of the woods once who got shot in the ankle with a shotgun slug that had ricocheted off of a rock and still carried enough weight with it to damage this guy's ankle. So think about that for a minute. And yes, shotgun slugs are devastating. They make big holes in things, but they really do overpenetrate. So I'm going to go out there on a limb and start the big internet fight that if you're using a shotgun for home defense, please use buckshot, either number 4 buckshot or 00 buckshot or something like that. It works very effectively. It's firing out, on average 9 to 13 pellets, and that hits pretty hard. But then again, make sure that you pattern that shotgun. Make sure you go out and you shoot that buckshot load at 25 feet. That's probably going to be the biggest room in your house. And you will see how far that pattern spreads out. It's not far. You have to aim your shotgun. You have to aim your shotgun. You can't just point it and shoot it. All right. Is the Desert Eagle 50 caliber legal in New York? I don't know. You can check out the gun laws page at uscca.com/laws and see if we got it on there.
In the comments.
Okay, we pinned it out there.
The pinned comment.
All right, it's pinned in the comments. We're already working on this stuff.
Map.
Free reciprocity and gun law map. So, hey, Antonio uses number 4 buckshot for home defense. Wow, we're on the same page. Outstanding. All right. So, thoughts on Donald Trump being elected? Can we see AR bans getting lifted? We just talked about that earlier. The Illinois state assault weapons ban has been declared unconstitutional, but it remains in place for the next 30 days for sure while the state gets to appeal it, because the judge who declared it unconstitutional knows that the state of Illinois will appeal it. From what I'm hearing, the decision by this judge was so wonderfully crafted that we're probably going to see some changes in how people are trying to ban AR-15s and other of these so-called assault weapons, modern sporting rifles, stuff like that. One thing that I can tell you is that the fight to protect your gun rights will never end. It will never end. Okay, great. We got a pro-gun president now, somebody who's not going to go after guns. That just means the gun grabbers, the gun control folks are going to work at the state level now to try to implement more laws at the state level. We saw it happen all over the place. It just continues to happen. the fight is never going to end. We're never going to be able to just put our hand down and say, yep, we won. So we've got to continue to battle to keep our rights. All right, can regular training actually be used against you and portray you as an aggressor? You know what? Lawyers can say anything. They can say, well, this guy was training because he's looking for a fight. And you know what? Document your training, because most of your training is going to talk to you about things like situational awareness and conflict avoidance and stuff like that. And regular training makes you a safer gun owner. Always, in all cases. It teaches you how to handle stress. It teaches you how to handle your firearm. It teaches you how to make decisions. So, yes, I'm sure that an aggressive prosecutor can certainly say that your regular training is proof that you were looking for a fight. But if you have a good defense attorney, your defense attorney can counter that claim. And that's why we have good lawyers, because when this stuff gets to court, you don't know what people are going to say, and they can say actually anything. All right. You know what? My throat's getting kind of sore. My mouth is getting dry.
Yeah, just
I've been doing this for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
When do I get to stop, Dylan? When do I get to stop?
Never. We'll be live streaming more, hopefully once a week.
Live streaming once a week?
Yeah.
Do I need to
Subscribe. No, you don't.
like
You don't
renegotiate?
need to update- No, you don't need
I
to update your
renegotiate my
description.
job
No,
description or
job
something here?
description stays the same
So,
pay.
so hit that notification bell so we can let you know when we're coming live, and you guys can ask me all sorts of good questions and tell me I'm wrong about buckshot and things like that. But yes, we're going to be doing this. We're going to try to do it once a week, because guess what? It's really working. I see like 160 people out there. 69 thumbs up comments. Got good things to say about that, but not here on camera. 70 thumbs up comments. Okay, there we go. So, all right. So, conceal and carry at USCCA Nation. Splash of orange. That sounds good for me. Folks, I'm going to sign off because they wouldn't give me any water and my throat's getting kind of dry. And I've been talking for 40. I've been talking for 41 consecutive minutes. But it's just because I'm smart enough to do that. That's why. Thank you very much for watching. Hit the notification bell. Subscribe to this channel. Tell everybody about the USCCA and all of our great training and all the other stuff that we do. And we'll come here and answer your questions probably about once a week, because you know what? You guys have been great. Thank you very much. We'll talk soon.
Do you know how to end it? He doesn't know how to end it. He doesn't.
Dylan, you're on live.
Yeah, no, it's Expo. Thanks, guys, for showing up.